Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Service Without Excuses podcast. Glad to be with you here today. Sponsored by Sotellus, Sotellus.com. That's SOTELLUS.com /Rob Lyon, ROBLYON. Check out their incredible review management software program. It has been a game changer for our business at New Jersey's Best. And I think it could definitely be a game changer for you if you utilize it correctly. So check them out again. Sotellus.com /Rob Lyon, ROBLYON. They're as usual in our show notes. Big thing I want to talk about today. I just actually talked to a colleague of mine about this, and he had said one of his guys that had actually worked with him, good guy. He said, very nice guy, but he said he is a natural born leader. I can't believe it. I found a natural born leader to be in my group and part of my company. And I had to take a step back for a second there, and I went, natural born leader, natural born goes together and leader goes together, but natural born leader, not so much. The reason for it, and honestly, natural born leaders are just, it's hyperbole. It's bullshit. There's no other way to really say it. You can have leadership skills. You can have the ability to actually lead and be motivated and have that leadership premise when it comes to dealing with your colleagues or your company, and that's it. But there's only one way you really develop leadership. It's not by reading a book, and although it's nice because you get some good hints on how you can improve yourself, it's not about taking a class and a course, although again, just like the past, you can learn a bunch of things from it. You can learn how to grow yourself personally. It's from experience. There's only one way a true leader becomes a leader, and that's from experience leading. And you will make mistakes, and you will fall short, and you will have, you'll find a real disconnect when it comes to the level of where you're friends with your colleagues and you're managing your colleagues. So let's say you're a general manager for a company. Here's a good example of it. And you want all the techs and all the staff to love you, and you want a happy, harmonious place, and that's awesome. And you can definitely strive for that. You could definitely think that something that's extremely possible. Here's the point: you just fall into it. It's not normal to do that. I used to tell my guys, and I've said it many, many times in the podcast, I appreciate your effort. We appreciate your effort. The people that run the company, we all appreciate your effort, but people don't pay us for effort. They pay us for result. And it really falls close to what we're talking about right here. Leadership doesn't stop because today you're having a bad day. Today you don't feel like dealing with employee complaints or employee issues, or they don't like this, they don't like what the boss says, and things like that. And that's not real leadership, unfortunately. Leadership is built up over many, many layers. Okay. So you can get leadership training. I know Violan Management does a great leadership training program. I know a bunch of people do great leadership training. One of my guests and good friends, Clark Brown, is a tremendous leader. And I think he will agree with me on this. Leaders are just not something that are born and are necessarily schooled, although those things definitely help. Just like when you first started your trade or whatever you're doing, you had to start somewhere and learn your trade and learn your gifts and learn what you have to do in order to grow. But you took time to do that. You didn't, if you're in the plumbing industry, you didn't become a master plumber in 3 months. It's not possible. You didn't become a restoration professional in 3 months. It's just not possible. You can get a lot of good tips and things, but you still haven't experienced enough to learn it. Now, I love it when some of the marketing minds say experience doesn't matter. You can read and learn, train. Listen, if everybody picks up everything they read in a book and they apply it instantly, they might have something. It's just not the world we live in. You have to learn through your mistakes. And the same marketers, the same professionals, the same people that tell you, gurus, so to speak, that tell you, you got to trial and error and you got to fail before you succeed, are the same ones that are saying, well, I could teach you a leadership training course and you're going to be fine. And that's not true. Again, there are fundamentals there that can help you grow, but they sure as hell are not going to help you be a better leader. Leader comes from an experience. Okay. So when I explain something to somebody or somebody explains something to me, I have the natural reaction to explain something relative to what they just told me back to them as it related to my personal experience. That gives you the ability to pull from somewhere to get an idea and to be able to develop and grow that idea and to pass information back and forth. That comes from experience. I'm not going to have those stories. I'm not going to have those experiences without actually experiencing this. And the same thing goes with leadership. Again, leaders can be molded, can be mentored, but either you have it or you don't. It's like a salesperson. You can train a person to sell, but either they have it or don't. You can give them the best sales training in the world, and if they're not willing to go out there and talk to people and speak with people and speak at conferences and speak on podcasts like this or whatever that happens to be, they're not going to be that effective at doing that. There's a specific reason I don't really do other podcasts as a guest at this point in time. That may change over a period of time. I try to have the guests come to me because I feel that way I can get the most out of people I'm interviewing or people that are talking here. When I'm doing it with somebody else, it's not always going to be the same per se. So as of right now, I've been very comfortable just running my own podcast and not necessarily being a guest. When my book comes out, that'll be a different story and things of that nature. But I'm not trying to sell anything to anybody, so it doesn't really behoove me at this point to go out there. That's a leadership move. That's saying I don't need to do that. I can make a conscious decision what's best for me, what's best for my current clients, what's best for my family. You have the ability to make that call and say, this is what's going to happen. Leaders take and lead by example. Okay. Doesn't mean the leader has to do the job for somebody else. I think the leader has to be willing to be able to do the job with somebody else. So if you're working in a service company, there are big companies out there, huge companies out there, but generally most people I talk to are usually 4 or 5 trucks. That means the owner of the company is probably still very active in the business, similar to mine. And as you can see, I got my work clothes on today, and I'm actually between things right now. But you can, these are things that you can make decisions on for your company and be in the trenches with your people and work with your people and be willing to lead by the example you're talking about. There is the old saying, don't do as I do, don't do as I, or do as I say, don't do as I do. That's just such bullshit. All right. If you're expecting people to buy into what you have, they need to be able to live it. Okay. And if you're not there as the owner of the company, and you have a general manager running your business, they need to be able to cover it and lead by example. The owner can't be telling the technicians and whatever one thing, and the general manager is saying something completely different. It needs to come from one person in particular. Structure in a business, I treat it very military like, is you have a general, and then you have colonels, and you have, whatever the structure going down. You're not going to hear from the general directly to the troops unless it's a major mission and they are there to talk to a whole bunch of them. It's not going to work that way. And I think business is no different than that. It shouldn't have to come from the top. It should come from the leadership, the general management leadership, by controlling that and mentoring and growing people. You have to be respected. You don't have to be liked. This is something a lot of people have a problem with when it comes to true leadership. They go, "Oh, I gotta lead or quote unquote lead these people, and if they all hate me, it's going to make my job tougher." No, it is going to make your job tougher, because then you are seen as sort of a pushover, and you're seen as weak, in essence to it. Now they may not tell you that, but you're being perceived that way. I promise you that. A true leader is respected, not feared. I don't agree with that one. But not liked either. You don't need to be liked. You're there to get a job done. You're there to lead by example. You're lead to have your troops or your staff or your technicians be in the field, and you holding them accountable for making that happen. The general manager is held accountable by the ownership or the senior management, depending on the size of the company there. But I would say, you have to be able to lead on your own without any precedence coming in from authority above you. So me as a general manager, when I ran a Stanley Steamer many, many, many moons ago, the deal I had with the person I was working for is, as long as I don't screw it up and make a mess of it, I want to run it my way. It doesn't mean I'm not going to respect the principles and things that this particular person had put in place, but let me run it my way. If you're going to micromanage me, this isn't going to work. And for the most part, that did happen. I mean, there were times where it didn't, and that's why I decided to move on with my career and go on my own. But realistically, I wanted the ability to lead. Now, when I started doing that, I was probably a pretty crappy manager. I mean, I probably called my boss more times than I should have, just to go and run things by and experience and just think, well, I got to run all this stuff by him because he's the owner of the company. No, you have to be able to make decisions. I mean, you're not going to make financial decisions with major investments. You're not going to be able to do that, but you're going to be able to run the day-to-day operations of the company where the owner is not involved in making the day-to-day operation decisions. That's why you're put there in the first place. So I guess my whole point of this podcast and recording is natural born leaders don't exist. People have leadership capabilities and leadership influences, but there's no such thing as a natural born leader. Leaders are molded over time and take experience and drive from experience that they pull from their gut and their brain and their memory, in order to make a great leadership training. You're not there to be liked, you're there to be respected. And that's your job. If you feel that's not something you can do, leadership is still not for you. True leadership, you still have to work on this and still have to be able to do it, but take and run the ship. So I talked about this also with a friend of mine in, ships and submarines and things like that. People that run those things, they have what's called the con. And the con, if you're a military person, understands you're the person running the ship or the submarine, like I just said. And you are given this. But if any time your superiors or even your subordinates underneath you feel you're not doing the job to your best ability, and there's enough people involved to make that decision, you can have that con removed from you. That doesn't mean you get thrown off the ship into the water or you get thrown out in a submarine to swim to the top if you can. It has nothing to do with it. You're still going to be there. You're still going to be, if you're on a ship, a senior enlisted member or officer, whatever that happens to be. But you're not going to be able to run the ship. You're still going to be on the ship and you're still going to have all your things, but you cannot be the person running the ship if you don't have the confidence of your crew. So think about this. True leadership doesn't mean your crew likes everything you do, but they have to respect your role in the situation. You got to respect that you're the person, they're the captain of the ship. This is your role. And if they don't respect that and you're too worried about hurting their feelings, then you probably shouldn't be running the ship in the first place. And the con should be transferred to somebody that can. So take this as simple, easy leadership things about natural born leaders. I could go into leadership and leadership training for hours and hours and hours, and we'd be here and you'd be falling asleep, and you should be falling asleep if I continue to talk about that afterwards. But natural born leadership is total bullshit, doesn't exist. Leadership comes from experience, mentoring, training, and time. Okay. These are all the things that are going to make you a good leader, and it takes time. I'm near 50 years old. I've had grooming at the age of 22. All right. At 22, and I really haven't become a great effective leader until I was really in my 40s, effective and a really good leader, not till probably about 3-4 years ago. And being able to say, nope, this is how it has to happen. There can't be this. I'm worried about everybody's feelings and emotions. You certainly want to work with people. That's part of being a manager. That's why you're managing, because you're managing the people and the staff and their reactions and their emotions and their efficiencies. But you still have to be the respected person in your company. So thanks so much for listening to us, I should say, on the Service Without Excuses podcast. Again, sponsored by Sotellus, sotellus.com, SOTELLUS.com /Rob Lyon, ROBLYON, and also New Jersey's Best, NewJersey'sBest.com. You could check out carpet and tile cleaning services that we do offer here in the state of New Jersey. And feel free to like and subscribe to our post, and also subscribe to our email, robmlyon.com, and you'll get a bunch of ebooks and content that we have out there once you've signed up. All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And you guys have an awesome day. Talk to you soon. Bye.